still have a bit of a class that they have to finish. So we ask that y'all can skedaddle by 1:45. So that gives y'all an hour to listen. Obviously, we're not going to be like pushing you out the door, but we do need to finish their class for the day. So hopefully we can visit for a minute and then get y'all on out. So I'm going to introduce first Miss Kelly Dodson, who is the Essentials tutor. Miss Amazing, and I mean really, she's done an amazing job.
Alright, so thank you for coming. We have an awesome show for you guys today. For those of you who don't know, this is the Essentials of the English Language class. So this is a 3-year class that all these kids repeat 3 years in a row. The students have worked on these presentations all year long, okay? So this is a true research project. So you've gone from 3 resources of books and encyclopedias and traditional resources to culminate into a 5-paragraph essay. These are things that most kids don't even start until high school. So the pride that should be in every parent, it should be just abounding, okay? Now, without further ado, we have...
Hang on.
Sorry, we're hard. Okay, so our first student, so it's okay. Anyway, we're super excited to have you here. I am personally so grateful for you guys taking the time out of your busy days because I know that you all have so much to do and life is crazy and life is hectic and you guys have done an amazing thing to come and see these kids. We appreciate it. So, we will start our show with our first year students. I would like you to please welcome Jaden McGill as Davy Crockett.
Hello, my name is David Crockett, and I will be telling you about my life. There are many stories about me, but who was I really? I killed 105 bears in one season, even killing a huge bear with nothing but my knife. I was good friends with another American legend, Jim Bowie. I am even the reason Tennessee is named the Volunteer State, for volunteering to fight against Mexico. I had numerous adventures in my early life. I served in Congress and I became a legend fighting at the Alamo. Interestingly, I had as much adventure in my early life as I did later on. I was born on August 17, 1786 in Tennessee, and even in my early years, moved around a lot. My family name originated from Monsieur de la Trocatane, who was captain of the Royal Guard for French King Louis XIV. I once bravely fought a bully at school. Because of this, I ran away fearing my dad would beat me with his stick. I even did odd jobs, one time to pay off one of my dad's debts. I liked meeting new people and enlisted in the Army in my early 20s. While in the Army, I fought Alabama and Creek Indians. I came back home after 15 years for the Army, and I got married. I had 3 kids before my wife tragically died at the age of 27. Later, I married Elizabeth Patton before beginning my political career. Little did I know, but my adventures were just beginning. Although many have heard of me, most do not know I was a politician. I lost my first election, but persistently kept on trying and won my second try. Although I was poorly educated, I possessed razor-sharp wit and a gift for speaking. I left Tennessee for Congress after I served in the War of 1812. I was furious about the Indian Removal Act, but better known as the Trail of Tears. Although my grandparents were killed in an Indian attack, I still did not like sadness and people losing their homes. This led me to leave politics and ended my career as a politician. My final adventure would be fighting in a Texas revolution against Mexico. In January 1836, me and 65 other men went to Texas to outfight. I went to Texas for the action, which I saw at the Alamo. I arrived at the Alamo on February 8, 1836 at 7 a.m. On March 6, 1836, the Mexican army attacked. After the battle ended, 2 of my friends were found dead. But where was I? Some people say I died at the hands of Mexican General Santa Anna. Other people say I died outside of the Alamo defending it. I died fighting Mexico, and my final adventure was legendary. I had countless adventures. Many of them were in my early life. A number of my adventures was being involved in politics as a congressman. The end of my adventures was the most exciting of all. At the Alamo, defending Texas from Mexico. I am most significant for standing up against the Trail of Tears in Congress, because I could not stand for people to lose their homes. I stood up for what's right, which made me a true legend. I was a true hero and will forever be remembered as an American legend.
Thank you so much, David Crockett. That was amazing. Next, we're going to have Nina Dodson as Marquise de Lafayette.
I'm happy to devote my life and my fortune to the American cause. I am Marquise de Lafayette. I was born September 6, 1757 in Champagne, France. My full name is Marie Joseph Paul Yves Roche Gilbert de Montour Marquise de Lafayette. When I grew older, I joined the French army and was married at 14. Because of my pursuit of liberty and justice for freedom, the United States became free. This helped during the Battle of Brandywine that I so solemnly fought. And I lived a hard life in 2 worlds. The pursuit of liberty and justice cannot be extinguished in some men. In 1777, I discovered that the United States declared themselves independent from Britain. I asked my king if I could go and help them fight against our enemy, Great Britain. But he refused. He wanted to keep the peace. So I dressed as a woman and snuck out of France on my ship, the La Victoire. When I arrived in America, I spoke to Congress, telling them about my journey to America and the hardships I faced, but they refused me. They said they did not need my service. So I wrote to them, telling them that I shall work for free, and at first as a volunteer, so they accepted me. And I was able to serve under General George Washington, and later on as a Major General. My first and most famous battle was the Battle of Brandywine. We were assigned to keep the British from crossing Brandywine Creek. General Sullivan's army camped further up the creek. Soon, news came that the British were crossing the creek, and General Sullivan was fighting them off. I ran to George Washington, demanding that I must fight. He allowed me to go. I ran to General Sullivan, finding out that his men were panicking. I encouraged the men, yelling, "Vive America," which means "Long live America." "You're wounded, sir," cried my aide. I looked down and my boot was full of blood. I was able to organize a calm retreat as I was being dragged back to camp. George Washington gave me his personal surgeon to tend to me. This meant a lot to me. I lived a hard life in two worlds. In 1778, I was given leave by the United States Army. So I went back to France, apologized to my king, and reunited with my family. Later on, I asked my king for money to send to the United States. Later on, I went back to the United States, finding out that my friend George Washington had died. In 1781, I rejoined the French army, and I worked with Thomas Jefferson, trading goods from France to America. And for the rest of my life, I supported all human rights for man and freedom. Without the pursuit of liberty and justice of myself, the United States would not be a country. I helped during my first battle, the Battle of Brandywine, and I lived a hard life in two worlds. Because of Lafayette's choice to work for free, the United States became its own country. Some said I had the passion and spirit of many.
Thank you, Marquis de Lafayette. Next, we're going to have Jack Parsons as Walt Disney.
All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Quote by Walt Disney. Hi, I am Walt Disney, and I am glad to be here. I was born into a humble family, and beginnings from which I built one of the biggest empires to date. Along the way, I learned when you believe in a thing, believe in it all the way, simplicity and unquestionable. I was born on December 5, 1901, in Chicago, Illinois, in a home built by my father, Elias. We did not have much. Our life was simple. We lived on a farm where we grew vegetables and had lots of fun wildlife. While we played around the pond because perfect. In Kansas City, Missouri, when I was 9, I got a newspaper route job at age 9. I also enjoyed drawing, painting, and declared my title as an artist. Surprisingly, I did my own Faces of History when I dressed up as Abraham Lincoln and recited the Gettysburg Address for my teacher and class. In high school, I took drawing and photography. I was also a cartoonist for my school newspaper. I left school at age 16 to join the military. My brothers were already in World War I, you see, and I wanted to join them. However, I was declined because I was underage. Therefore, I joined the Red Cross instead. They sent me to France where I drove an ambulance for 1 year. I returned home in 1919. As an adult, my childhood creations came to life. Mickey Mouse was my first creation that inspired the rest of my cartoon team. First, which I won a golden Oscar surrounded by 7 smaller Oscars. My next project was Disneyland. However, it was television investors who helped me build it. I was able to open Disneyland near Los Angeles, California, in 1925. My goal was to have a place where families could have fun together. After all, a man should never neglect his family or business. Following my dream come true of Disneyland, my last project was to build Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Sadly, I was not able to see the opening due to lung cancer. Thankfully, my ideas and plans were so detailed that my brother and business partner Roy was able to carry on and build without me. Building Disney was my greatest accomplishment. I had prepared my whole life for it. Mickey Mouse and my cartoons continue to bring joy to young and old alike. Even today, my films can still be heard. My films are still beloved and cherished and celebrated as classics. Finally, my parks bring families together. I am proud of my life's work and I am happy to share it with the world. I hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt Disney. Now we're going to hear from Becky Shelton as Amelia Earhart.
My name is Amelia Earhart. I was born in Kansas on July 24, 1898. Before I was born, my mother was the first woman to climb to the top of Pikes Peak in Colorado. We were doing that gave me the courage to follow my dreams. When I was a kid, girls were supposed to wear dresses, play quietly, and not get dirty. That was extremely boring, but I didn't. My sister and I were lucky. Our parents said that those rules were silly. My father taught us how to play ball and shoot. It was allowed, we were even allowed to wear pants and get dirty. It was a lot of fun at our house. Before I was a pilot, I worked as a nurse taking care of the soldiers from the World War. Some of them were pilots. One day I was invited to the airfield to see the planes. I could not believe what I saw. The planes changed so much since I was a kid. I wanted to fly. I got my international license in 1921 and I got my U.S. license in 1921 and my international license in 1823. But no, I got my U.S. license in 1921 and my international license in 1923. At that time, there were only 16 female pilots who were called flag girls. Amazingly, Charles Lindbergh made the first solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean. That made him world famous. I was picked to go for next. But they did not let me fly the plane. I just rode it. Amazingly, though, when the plane landed, no one cared who actually flew the plane. They just wanted to know about me. I was so world famous too. I decided the next time I would fly across the Atlantic, I would fly the plane myself. I was breaking records and becoming famous. I was the first pilot to fly from Hawaii to California. Flying around the world was my dream. I knew it was dangerous, but I did not care. to inspire other young women to follow their dreams too. On July 3rd, 1937, my plane disappeared across the Pacific Ocean, not too far from Japan. There were many stories and rumors about my disappearance. That was almost 80 years ago. To this day, people are still asking where is in the air.
Thank you, Amelia Earhart. The next two gentlemen are our second-year students. Would you please welcome Jonathan Worley as Albert Einstein.
Hello, I am Albert Einstein. I was a famous scientist who is known to be incredibly smart. I was born in 1879 in Ulm, Germany. I grew up with my mom, dad, and sister. And growing up in Germany, I moved to Italy because I did not want to join the military and I needed their school. After Italy, I moved to Switzerland and eventually moved and became a U.S. citizen in 1940. I was married twice and had 2 sons. I died at the age of 76 in 1955. When I was little, I loved toys with moving parts. I could build card structures over 14 stories high. When I was 5 years old, I was sick in bed, and my dad gave me a compass. I was mesmerized by the compass, and it made me ask the questions how and why. The compass made a deep-lasting impression on me and inspired my passion for science. In elementary school, I enjoyed the subjects math, science, and Latin. My teachers did not like me. They thought I was a daydreamer and asked too many questions. They were angry and insulted because I didn't know the answers to the questions that I had. I actually got expelled, and when I did, I attended school in Italy, and that school was different. I was allowed to think and ask questions. I wrote and published my first scientific paper in magnetic fields as a teenager. I studied physics in college and graduated in 1900. I later became a physics professor. Didn't get a teaching job right away. Most of my studies were on nighttime motion and space. I had questions like why is the sky blue that I need to answer. I invented E equals mc squared and Fourier relativity, which explains that everything moves at a different speed except for light. I worked with other inventors like Thomas Edison. You can also thank me for your TV because my theories led to that invention. In 1922, I was recognized for my talents and won a Nobel Prize in Physics. My favorite thing to do was think. Even though I was called a foolish daydreamer and instructed for my questions, I never stopped. If I stopped, I never would have came up with the questions that I had to answer. So always be curious and ask questions, and you could end up being a scientific genius like me.
Thank you, Albert Einstein. Next, we'll have Ethan Peterson as Alexander Hamilton.
Hello. Oh, I am your $10 founding father. I was an unknown future hero with a horrific childhood. I was sent to New York City because of my genius work. Click with a pen. I joined George Washington because of my great mind and bravery. I accused Aaron Burke of being untrustworthy. For being untrustworthy, and he challenged me to a duel. I was born on January 11th in the mid-1750s. I was extremely smart and did not approve of slavery. Because of my views on slavery, I later declared, who talks most about freedom and equality is not those who hold the Bill of Rights in one hand and a whip for slaves in the other.
I was sent to New York City, and I moved to New York City, and after a hurricane hit the island of Nevis, which is where I lived. I joined the Hearts of Oak, which, because of my dream of becoming a soldier. On December 25th, 1776, General Washington led most of the army across the Delaware River to fight the British. I climbed out of bed while sick and led back up 8 miles through the freezing cold to my general. Eventually, 5 years later, at the Battle of Yorktown, I again led men into another extremely fierce battle. Eventually, the bitter British bullies surrendered. We won! Hurrah! I accused Aaron Burr of being untrustworthy, and so he demanded an apology. I refused. So he challenged me to a duel, which was in New Jersey, which was the same spot my son was tragically shot. We took 10 steps, and bang! I shot at a tree nowhere near Aaron Burr. He shot me right above the hip. I was rushed to my friend's house and died the next day. I could not experience my 50th birthday. Now for fun facts about my life. I was sent to New York City to attend King's College. I believed becoming a soldier would help me succeed in life. It truly did. My heroic death helps you remember my marvelous life of Alexander Hamilton.
Thank you, Alexander Hamilton. So this last group of ladies and gentlemen will be leaving us and going on to Challenge A. So without further ado, please welcome Jack Bender as Teddy Roosevelt.
Hello, my name is Theodore Roosevelt. I'm going to tell you about my young life, my experience with the Rough Riders, and my presidency. I was born on October 27th, 1858, in New York City. I had a sister named Anna. Sorry. Then my parents had 2 more children, Corinne and Quentin. Not Quentin. Elliot. Sorry. Thank you. My aunt taught me how to read. When I was 9 years old, I studied various animals that came into my various animal skeletons and other live animals that came into my home uninvited. When I was 13, I got glasses that I put down on my nose because my eyesight began to worsen. When I was 14, I traveled to Europe twice and followed the Nile in Egypt. When I was 16, I went to Harvard University. I imagined myself in nature science, but ended up being more attracted to public speaking and history. I enjoyed many hobbies, including boxing and horse riding. When I was 19, my father died. I was extremely devastated by this and wrote about my feelings in my journal. When I was 27, I was married to Edith and had 6 kids. Alice, Theodore III, Kermit, Archibald, Quentin, and Ethel. Thank you again, random citizen. Also, it's pronounced Ethel. When I was 39, I joined the Rough Riders, which was a group of cavalry that was raised to fight in the Spanish-American War. The generals of the cavalry knew about my earlier military experience and knew that I would be able to help them. we were fighting against Spain and mainly Cuba. I had doubts about the team originally too, but I trained with them day and night until they got their act together. Our most important victory was the Battle of San Juan. During one of our trainings, we found a lost bear cub. When they told me to kill it, I refused and allowed it to live. Weeks later, toy companies contacted me and asked if it was okay to use my name on a stuffed toy bear. I said it was fine, and they made the teddy bear. Once we were done with all the training, the people of San Antonio held a going away party with music. I forgot to inform them, the Rough Riders, that there were going to be cannons shot in quick succession. So when the cannons shot, the Rough Riders thought they were being attacked. William McKinley was elected in 1900, and I was elected as vice president. On September 13th, 1901, while I was hiking in Alamo, President McKinley was shot. Only a day later, on September 14th at 2:15 a.m., he died, and I became president. My children thought I would be shot, like McKinley. After this first term, I ran for president again and won. This time I fought against big companies that were simply just not fair. Once, while I was heading to a coal mine to stop children from working underground and possibly not getting enough air and dying, a trolley car rammed into the carriage I was in. I and the other passengers survived, but the driver of the trolley car and the carriage both died. Although badly injured from this crash, I continued to fight against the coal industry. I also thought that nature should be more respected and more safer, and more used and cherished. So I made the idea of national park system to protect nature and make sure that no one could ever, hurt certain areas that were important in history or just for me. On October 14th, 1912, at a speech in Milwaukee, a man by the name of John F. Schrank shot me in the chest. I fell, but quickly rose and addressed the crowd of what happened. Friends, I shall ask you to be as quiet as possible. I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot. The audience gasped as I showed them my bloody shirt and said, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose." I continued to give my 84-minute long speech before being taken away by an ambulance. The reason I had not died was because of a steel eyeglass case in my pocket and a 50-page speech. I was always interested in nature, even in my presidency, from my young life to my older life. I had always looked for a challenge and never held back during my presidency. Most importantly, I cared about fairness in the environment more than money. Without me, we wouldn't have all these national parks. All right, bye.
Thank you, Theodore Roosevelt. Next, we have Olivia Dodson as Anna Strong.
The spies that freed us. Out of these, one stood out and accomplished everything required of her. These spies formed a team called the Culper Spy Ring. This ring helped build America's foundation. Abraham Woodall, who was the leader of the Culper Spy Ring, had a chance of working with the best spy ever. With a home in Setauket, New York, this spy was born into a loyalist family. During the Revolutionary War, George Washington, who was in desperate need of spies, partnered up with Major Benjamin Talmadge. Together they resolved Washington's problem and created the Culper Spy Ring. George Washington named it after Culpeper, Virginia, because he worked there as a boy. Major Benjamin Talmadge created code that the spies could use to send messages to each other without the British reading them. Although the code was put into place, spies were still getting caught. Worthy, Major Benjamin Talmadge and George Washington decided to add a new spy. One who is far more sly. A woman, perhaps? I, Anna Strong, am a member of the Culper Spy Ring. Us spies use many tools to keep a secret. The code that Major Benjamin Talmadge created was one of them. This had numbers that were equivalent to words and names. I was thought to mean Agent 355, which means lady. Abraham Woodall was my friend and my neighbor and assigned me this code. We were able to disguise ourselves as a married couple traveling. This provided protection for each other. On the laundry line, I hung bloomers to show that there was a message, and handkerchiefs to show where to receive the message. Many of our messages were written in invisible ink, which was a mixture of green iron, salt, and water. During my spyhood, many selfless sacrifices were made. Although I was born into a loyalist family, I became a patriot. My husband Sheila was also a spy and an American soldier, but he was arrested by the British during our early years of spying because he covertly sent messages to the American army. I had an advantage because my family were loyalists and I was able to keep a secret. The Culper Spy Ring helped America win the Revolutionary War. My teammates and I made up this Culper Spy Ring. We used many interesting tools such as the Culper Code, sympathetic stain, bloomers, and many more. By waving my black bloomers, I brought America to victory. I, Anna Strong, am a young, courageous woman, and with God's help, we won the Revolutionary War. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Strong. Next, we'll have Reagan Levan as Sacagawea.
Hi, my name is Sacagawea. Most of you have probably heard me before, but did you know I'm a member of the Shoshone tribe, which means high-growing grass. One day when I was 12 years old, me and my best friend wandered out to hunt buffalo, but were kidnapped by the enemy tribe, Hadist. My best friend escaped, but I was sold to Tusa Shabadem, a man twice my age whom I was forced to marry. He was an excellent fur trader who had traveled and lived with the Hadist Indians. In 1804, Lewis and Clark recruited my husband as a guide to the expedition west. I went with them. They said a woman's presence would show the other Indian tribes that we came in peace. In 1805, we stopped at Fort Manning so I could give birth to my first child, Jean-Baptiste, which Clark nicknamed Pomp. It means firstborn. While on a 28-month venture, we traveled over 4,500 miles and had many interesting experiences. Disease, predators, extreme temperatures, and starvation were our constant companions. I often dug for roots, picked berries, and foraged for food, or we would have stopped. After having Pomp, we were present-day Montana, where the Yellowstone River meets the Missouri River, and one of our ships capsized. While everyone else was panicking, I quickly started saving supplies. I was able to save books, a critical botany journal, and all our scientific instruments. But our lead for bullets, all our medicine and supplies, our medical supplies and medicine sunk to the bottom of the river, unfortunately. In appreciation for my quick thinking, they named a tributary after me. But the name didn't stick and was later changed. It was unfortunate to lose all my medical supplies because soon after, a large portion of our party fell ill. I, myself, almost died. Clark did his best to take care of me and Pomp, but he soon fell ill. During this time, Lewis was almost mauled by a grizzly bear. Our hunters were amazed that it took 8 shots to kill the masterpiece. In 1805, we met a group of Chinook Indians who traded much-needed bear fur for the coming cold. Clark noticed a coat made of sea otter skin. He wanted it more than anything. So he tried trading for it. But the chief would have nothing other than my blue beaded belt. I did not want to give up my blue beaded belt, but I was forced to. During this time, we were walking near a river and saw two women. The women were frightened, but Clark gave them blue beads and mirrors as a sign of peace. The 2 women led us back to their village. Suddenly, warrior men surrounded us. I started sucking on my thumbs and dancing. Everyone in my party thought I had gone mad, but I was just recognizing my people, the Shoshone. I was an interpreter for my party. Lewis and Clark set up a meeting with the chief. When we sat down to have a meeting, I started crying because I realized it was my brother, Camelot. Camelot promised to give us horses and supplies we were in dire need of. But sadly, later I overheard him stating to a chief that instead of giving us the horses and supplies, he was going to hunt buffalo. I quickly informed Lewis and Clark, and they confronted Camelot and made him feel guilty. Camelot decided to give us the supplies and sent us on our way. I also got to see my best friend after all this time. She was still living with the tribe. We finally reached the ocean in November 1805 when we spotted a beached whale. The men were going to hike down to take a closer look, but wanted me to stay in camp. I said if I walked as far as you and did everything you had to get here, that I should be able to come too. Clark agreed to let me join. The animal took me by surprise. I was grateful I got to see it. The ocean was mind-blowing. There were waves 40 feet tall and spread as far as you could see. After our trip, I returned to the Yista village. There was some confusion about my death. Some people said I died in 1812, others say 1884. But Clark kept a log of everyone after the expedition and listed me dead in 1812. Regardless of when I died, the expedition would have been a failure without me. Times, the only thing we had to eat was what I picked out of the forest. I was also a symbol of peace to other Indian tribes who thought we had ill intentions. 28 months, 4,500 miles with a baby on my back, all by the time I turned 17.
Thank you, Sacagawea. And now we have Anya Shepard as Laura Ingalls Wilder.
My name is Laura Ingalls Wilder. Just imagine living 100 years ago. What would your life be like? Would you build your own house? Constructing my dream house took 18 years. Work on the farm was not easy. I moved around many times and faced many hardships, like losing my dog Jack on the other side of the Mississippi River. I longed for a permanent home, though I did not have one for over 4 years. After my marriage in 1885, I rented my own home till it went up in flames 4 years later. While living there, I had 2 children, a boy and a girl, but sadly the boy died when he was just a baby. I moved to Rocky Ridge Farm in 1895. It would become my permanent home. Living on the farm, we supplied ourselves with food by gardening. The Rocky Ridge Farm was started off as a one-room log cabin. I wrote newspaper articles on farming. When we first arrived at Rocky Ridge Farm, I planted an orchard. We broke our own colts to the garden with. We worked hard for food, and we hunted for meat for the winter time. We smoked the meat to preserve it. We caught fish from creeks and ponds, and picked plums, which were dried and preserved. Bear steak is my favorite food. I lived in many houses, and we survived off of large farms. I taught people about farming, and I encountered many wolves during my lifetime. And I lived happily at Rocky Ridge Farm. Thank you.
Good job, guys. So I want to say thank you to Kelly Dodson, because especially to y'all, give a big round of applause. Super fun, super informative, lead learner. Really, I'm so thankful for all of our tutors. We're celebrating Essentials. I'm so thankful for Ms. Kelly. So we have some cookies being laid out. And you are welcome to stay and visit and take pictures and talk. Don't go anywhere yet. Stay there. Stay there.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. We're going to have them come up so we can take pictures all together. And then in about 15 minutes, we're going to nicely scoot you out. So anyways, thank you all so much and enjoy your time. Kids, come on up here. We'll line you up for pictures, all right? If you lost keys and can tell me what car it is, I got them. Okay? I got them in my hand. Somebody's keys are here. All right, come on up here, guys.